your simulation that you're living in right now, your world that you're living in right now, if you assume that it's real, you're going to be in fear and lack. You'll be like, oh my gosh, I have to walk on eggshells. Otherwise, I'm going to lose this job, or I'm not going to be able to pay my bills, or I'm going to lose this relationship, or all these bad things. So your imagination is picturing these bad things happening. And then that's what creates that reality. Okay. But on the other hand, if you were to think that, know that it's a simulation, if you were to know that your world actually is a simulation, which it is, then then it takes the fear element out, the lack, the desperation. Now you're in flow state. You're like, you want to know what? My world really isn't real. You want to know what? I'm going to go talk to that person, or I'm going to go get that job. I'm going to go start that business. Your world isn't real. You're living in a movie. You're living in a simulation. You're living in a high-tech simulated game. Okay. Right now you are living in that world. In this video, I'm going to give you the tools to start changing this. Start manipulating your reality, because nothing in your world is real. It's a hologram, okay? It's all being projected from your imagination. Imagination creates the reality in which you live. And your world isn't real until you observe it as something real. Like if something negative happens to you today and you observe it as something negative, then it will keep reoccurring as something. That's the only moment that it becomes real. And when you start to understand that your world isn't real, and you start to experience that your world isn't real, which I'm going to give you these exercises in this video to do, that's when you take the realness and the seriousness out of everything that happens to you, and you stop recreating the things that you don't want, and you start creating the things that you do want in your life. And I'm going to give you some more information on how this works precisely. That way you can start applying it in your reality. For example, if today you go to work and your boss tells you, listen, we got to let you go. We're downsizing. We don't need you anymore. You're fired. How are you going to observe this? First off, you're going to be thinking, how am I going to pay my bills? I'm in debt already, or I have bills coming in. How am I going to pay? If that's your initial reaction, you've just made that event real in your life. And then your imagination from the inner world, which is creating remember, imagination creates reality. So if you observe this event as something negative that happens, and you're automatically picturing yourself through your inner dialogue, that negative things are to come from this, like bills coming in the mail, your relationships being destroyed, not being able to make your car payments, your house payment, all of these different things, then you're creating that reality to be real. Within the simulation, it's not real until you observe it that way. However, if you observe that same event, getting fired from your boss coming to you, hey, we got to let you go. But your initial observation of that is, wait a minute, maybe something better is coming from this. Maybe this is happening for my benefit. Maybe maybe there's going to be another position, or I can create a new business, or I'm just going to win the lottery, or I'm going to have some amazing investment opportunity that comes to me. So then when you observe your reality this way, what happens? What does your imagination do with that inner dialogue? It's imagining bigger bank balances, your family, your friends congratulating you on your success, maybe a new job opportunity, a new door opens for you. And then you make that reality a fact. And I'll state it again, just so you understand, your world is a simulation being created from how you observe it. It's a participatory world. And if you have something, doesn't matter what it is that comes into your life, it's all based on your imagination and what it's picturing to happen to you in the future. What are the events? How are you observing your world? Like, are you somebody that has an internal dialogue that nothing ever works out for me? This person is always going to get the position over me, or I'll never win the lottery, or I'll never have good things happen to me because I always get the short end of the stick. If you have that sort of observation about your world, that is why your world is the way that it is. Your imagination creates your reality. And if you're assuming these things that are happening to you are not good, they're not working out for your benefit, nothing ever works out for you, then your imagination is picturing those events ahead of you in the future. That's what's creating your future. Is your habitual inner dialogue creates imaginal pictures in your mind from those feeling states are being outpictured and generated within the subconscious mind and creating your reality right now. So you may be asking yourself, how do I start to change this? And what I'm here to tell you is, from this knowledge alone, from watching this content and understanding just what I said to you, you're now going to start catching yourself, okay? As you start going throughout your day, and you may have something that appears to be catastrophic happen to you in your world, you're maybe going to catch yourself now and be like, wait a minute, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe it's actually happening for my benefit. And you can start changing your world by doing this, because now you're imagining good things to come out of this. When you take that negative and turn it into a positive, it's going to create positive results in your world simply by changing what you're imagining, because we're always picturing something within our imaginations. So what is it? And a lot of times you'll even evidence this within your reality by having deja vu sometimes. Like, have you ever met someone, or you've been somewhere or heard something that you were like, oh my gosh, I've felt this before. I've met this person before. I've been here before. It's because you have. It's because you have imagination creates reality before it actually happens. So you're imagining these things, and when they actually happen, you're remembering your imaginal act. That's what deja vu is. And it also happens when you go to sleep at night. You dream certain things. Like, you'll have certain experiences within your dreams, and when you meet those dreams within the 3 dimensions of space, you also feel deja vu. But this also happens because you're always imagining what's going to happen to you next. Everything within your reality is everything you based and consent to being true of your world, but also how you feel about those things. Are they good or are they bad? That's what's outpicturing and creating your tomorrow and next week and next year. But by understanding this right now, you need to start having the awareness and concentrating your attention and being very present of how you're reacting to your world and everything that happens within it. And start changing everything. Start changing everything within yourself, and understanding this one concept. You can change everything. And another example of this is actually within my community. This world is a simulation. Someone had brought this up to me, and I want to explain this because it's so important as it relates to imagination creates reality. They asked me, they say, okay, so if I'm thinking positive things all the time, that means I'm going to create positive results. But I know there's actually someone that's close to me that's very negative, but they have so much money in their life. And I thought this was a very relevant and important question to answer, because money and happiness have nothing to do with one another. And this person in particular grew up with money, and they always had money, and money came to them really easily, and they have a large inheritance that their family's going to give to them. And they always consented to that being true of the world. So their imagination was always picturing themselves having money in the future, regardless of their happiness. That doesn't have anything, it has no bearing on whether you're going to have money in your life. But you have to remember this also. This person is very unhappy. Money doesn't make them happy. They've always had money, and it never improved their quality of their life. So remember this, that it's all about imagination. It's all about what you're imagining to come into your life and feel. is the secret. So feeling and money have nothing to do with one another. It's actually what you're picturing. So with this person in particular, when they picture themselves getting all this money, they actually don't feel very good. They're very unhappy, very negative, but they know that money's always coming to them. They know that money comes to them very easily because they've always had it that way. And that's what they consent to being true of their world. And that's what creates that reality. So if you are a happy person and you always had money coming into your life, you would also have money, but you can be a happy person and not believe and consent to being true that good things happen to you or money comes to you. But you can still be a happy person. Okay, that's why it's important to be whole and complete. Because when you're whole and complete, you're happy, positive, no matter what's happening to you in your world. And then you start to micromanage your application with your imagination and start seeing good things coming into your life that are associated with this happiness. Money coming to you, and you feel very grateful for this. And this is what correlates the connection between money and happiness, how you can have both. But really, they have nothing to do with one another. You can be a very negative and unhappy person and manifest lots of money into your life, but who would want that? If the point of life is not to be happy, then the hell with it. Just like my grandfather said, the hell with it. If I'm not going to be happy, I could care less about any of that. And another really important topic that I want to cover that's really relevant to this, it was actually another testimonial that came up within This World is a Simulation on School, within my community. But somebody was a stock trader. This person's a stock trader, and they also trade crypto. And they created an account, a fictitious account, which is an artificial account, like a simulated account, and then they had a real account. And they had the same amount of money in each one of these accounts. So the one that was real, they were making trades, and the one that was a simulated account, they were also making trades. And what they found was the simulated account, they 10x their portfolio within a day. But the real account, they were actually in the red, in the negative. They were losing money. Why is that? It's because they were taking their life so serious. They were taking the trades so serious. Like the simulator one, they're like, oh, I don't care. It's not even real money. So I'm going to get into this, and this. I'm going to be in flow state as I'm making my trades. And I'm not really going to overthink it. I'm not going to think anything about it. I don't really care if I lose it. So they detach from that reality that their world is real. It's not real. But the real account, they were in the red because they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know, I might lose my money here. They're not in flow state. They're in this low frequency of fear and reaction and lack and desperation. And every trade they made was negative, and they lost money. They didn't make any money. They actually lost money that day. But the simulated one, and I want to correlate that to your simulation that you're living in right now, your world that you're living in right now. If you assume that it's real, you're going to be in fear and lack. You'll be like, oh my gosh, I have to walk on eggshells. Otherwise, I'm going to lose this job, or I'm not going to be able to pay my bills, or I'm going to lose this relationship, or all these bad things. So your imagination is picturing these bad things happening. And then that's what creates that reality. Okay. But on the other hand, if you were to think that it's a simulation, if you were to know that your world actually is a simulation, which it is, then then it takes the fear element out, the lack, the desperation. Now you're in flow state. You're like, you want to know what? My world really isn't real. You want to know what? I'm going to go talk to that person, or I'm going to go get that job. I'm going to go start that business. I'm going to go get that car. I'm going to go live in that house. I'm going to step outside of my comfort zone, and I'm going to do all these different things because my world is a simulation. I'm going to enjoy it. I can do anything I want because it's not real. It doesn't matter. And that's the same thing. If you look at your world, if it's real, you're going to be in fear. You're going to be in a low frequency. All of these things aren't going to happen. You're going to be in the red. Okay. You're going to be losing. But if you know that it's a simulation, and that just to enjoy yourself and enjoy the moment, be grateful, you're going to make all the right decisions. So I want you to take that example, and I want you to start applying this in your life today. Exactly as I just stated. When you think of your world as real, you walk on eggshells, you're in fear, you're in low frequency, you're worried about it, you're stressing about all these things. And then that's what you're creating. Your imagination is picturing these things happening to you over and over and over again. But as soon as you observe your world as a simulation, you start catching yourself and say, wait a minute. You know what? I'm going to create a YouTube channel. I'm going to create a brand. I'm going to go talk to that person. I'm going to go create this. I'm going to step out of my comfort zone. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go skydiving. I'm going to go to Egypt. I'm going to fly around the world. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make millions and millions of dollars. I don't care what it takes. I'm going to do it because I have nothing to lose. It's a simulation. I love this, and I'm grateful for it. And I'm going to enjoy this world that I created. And I'm going to love every minute of it. I'm going to be grateful for it. I'm going to create whatever I want. I'm going to step out of my comfort zone because it's not real. And you're going to win. You're going to 10x. You're going to 100x over here. This other way, you're just creating that world. And when you're in this other state, what are you doing? You're imagining the greatest things to come to you. You're like, wait a minute, I'm a limitless being. I can create anything that I want. Then what is your imagination doing? Then it's imagining better and better and better, greater and greater things happening to you for your future. You just shifted realities just by viewing your world as a simulation, which it is. It's a holographic world, a high-tech simulated game. So start shifting yourself. This is the challenge I'm going to give you and the tools I'm going to give you in this video. Start applying this in your life. Start viewing your world as if it's a simulation. You're going to start to see some great things start to come into your life. Get rid of the stress. Stop walking on eggshells. Get out of your comfort zone. Start doing things you've always wanted to do. If you want to create a YouTube channel, turn that camera on. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Let it out. Just let it out. It's not real. It's not real. You have nothing to fear, nothing to worry about. Step out of that comfort zone and do what you love to do. Do what you're passionate about doing, and don't let anyone stop you. Don't let anyone stop you, and look at your life this way. So that's your challenge. That's your challenge. Start putting that together. Start changing your mindset. Start seeing your world as a simulation, and stop fearing. Stop walking on eggshells. Love your life. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one.
Crime, murder, gruesome psychological